So we are in a series of videos on pitfalls in long-term care planning, and Eric Goldberg, elder law attorney, is generous enough to teach us on these subjects. And today he's going to introduce to us the second one that we're covering in this series.
Sure, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me again. So this pitfall is waiting too long to go to assisted living. So New Jersey is unique in that it requires that any assisted living facility built after 2001 must accept Medicaid in at least 10% of their beds. So what this does is it creates an atmosphere in New Jersey where most assisted living facilities, and most of them nowadays, because as you know, they're being built all over the place, most assisted living facilities have a 2 or a 3 year private pay period. Now, what does that mean? Well, a private pay period means not that when you walk in the door in a nursing home, when you look to go to a nursing home, they want to see your finances. They want to know how much money you have because they want to know approximately when you're going to be applying for Medicaid. In assisted living, they normally don't look at your finances, but they do tell you, and it is in the agreement that you sign, that they do offer Medicaid, but that in order for you to qualify to get on the waiting list, okay, there's usually not a guarantee, sometimes there is, but to get on the waiting list for a Medicaid slot, you must be in the facility privately paying for at least 2 years. Sometimes it's 3 years. Sometimes there is a guarantee at the end of that time period. I'm just learning, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but there are some new assisted living communities in New Jersey that have negotiated with the towns in order to build the facility. The town is actually requiring them to take some residents on Medicaid. This is a new phenomenon that I'm just learning about, but it's very interesting. So out there are these very fine, brand new communities that accept people on Medicaid. I'm not saying you should go run out and get Medicaid and enroll in these. They're probably very few and far between.
Clarification question.
Sure.
So what you're saying is from day one, they need to accept people on Medicaid.
That's what I'm hearing, but there are very few of them.
But not 100% of their beds.
No. I believe it's that 10% quota.
Okay.
Yeah. So
without the 2 year spend down.
Right. So they'll have a 2 year spend down, but a certain number, I believe.
Okay.
This is brand new to me.
Gotcha.
But a certain number, that 10%, must be immediate.
Got you.
And it's a zoning reason. The town said you can only build here if you do that. It's one of those low-income housing type of things.
Because in the past, they had a 2 year grace period where a brand new building didn't need to fill those 10% until 2 years later.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
They can't take Medicaid until they're Medicaid accredited.
Okay.
Right. And it does take a while, both from the facility does have the grace period, but also the state of New Jersey. And what we found during COVID, as an aside, is that some of the buildings didn't get accredited in the 2 year time period because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so there were people who were waiting to get a Medicaid slot because they'd been there 2 years, but the building didn't offer Medicaid yet because everything was pushed back. But those are all ancillary to this. So once we know the basic rules of assisted living and Medicaid, we go back to what many people come to me with, which is we want mom, or mom is still able to talk about it, to stay at home. And that's fine. You know, a lot of people want to stay at home. They either want to stay at home because they're not social or because they love being at home. They have their routine. They're close to family. There are multiple reasons to stay at home. And that's that. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And we have plenty of clients who age in place. The problem becomes if they run out of money. So when an individual is receiving home care, as we all know, it's expensive. So not only are they receiving home care, but they're still paying for food, they're still paying their real estate taxes, they're still paying sometimes a mortgage, and they're still paying all the various utilities and things like that. So it's expensive to be at home. And what we find is the first thing that happens is they run out of their savings. So then they tap the equity in their house. It's very hard to tap equity in a house as a senior unless you take advantage of a reverse mortgage. When I meet most families and talk about reverse mortgages, the first thing they say is, no way. My mother is never, ever going to have a reverse mortgage. Those products are evil. They're actually not. They in the past were sold by unscrupulous salespeople who didn't explain the pitfalls of a reverse mortgage. But it's just another tool. It's a tool to get equity out of your house. And when you don't have income, you can't qualify for any other type of mortgage usually. So it is really the last resort. So what we find is people go through their finances, then they qualify for a reverse mortgage, which doesn't give you all of the equity in your house. And very quickly, they find that they've used up all the equity in their house. So at that point, what do? Well, they have no money themselves to pay for home care anymore. And it's either the family members are paying for care, or if they are ill enough and they clinically qualify for Medicaid, meaning that they need assistance with at least 3 activities of daily living, then they have to move to a nursing home in order to qualify for Medicaid because they are truly impoverished and sick. So what's happened is the family thought they were doing the right thing for their parent, keeping them at home a long time. But what ended up happening is instead of going to a home-like environment, assisted living, they leapfrogged that and had to go into an institutional environment. So it totally destroyed the plan, which was that mom should live the rest of her life in a home-like environment. Now she's living the rest of her life in an institution because nobody has the money to pay $10,000 or $12,000 a month in order to care for mom in the appropriate way.
That's helpful. A lot of times, no matter how many times I explain to people that I work with assisted living, they go, oh, Joe works with nursing homes. Like they can't differentiate. So I just want to explain this very clearly. Mm-hmm. An assisted living, I often say it looks and feels like a hotel.
Yes.
Where they provide physical help. But a nursing home looks and feels more like a hospital where they provide skilled care and medical care.
Exactly. Yeah. And I agree with you. I run into this issue all the time where people say, oh no, my grandmother was in one of those places when I discuss assisted living. Well, assisted living has only existed for maybe 30 years. Mm-hmm. So it's possible that your grandmother was in some sort of a facility that was probably a nursing home. So people like Joe help people find good assisted living communities where they can live and they can thrive. And just one aside, because this is the interesting thing about elder law is we're talking about legal concepts, but we're talking about people, and that's what we pride ourselves on in my firm is really dealing with our clients and their families and helping them out. The bottom line is that when people first meet us and their loved one is at home, and maybe. And again, I don't have anything against staying at home and having a good home care. But a lot of times they're either living on their own or having their spouse care for them or family members caring for them. And they're in a state of decline. When they move to assisted living, very often they bounce back because now they're socialized. Now they have the proper nutrition and hydration, and they have professionals caring for them. And so I find it to be a great environment for seniors.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. And if this video was helpful, please subscribe. Please press like. And hope to see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.